This is the College Hockey News Insiders Podcast.
Wilmer behind the back, spinorama, he scores! What a goal by Jeremy Wilmer!
Discussion.
Into the net with a shot, he scores! Owen Mike goes 4-2, Western Michigan.
Opinion.
Back into the near circle, fires, he scores! Hysteria here in Hockey Valley as Penn State upsets number 2 Minnesota.
Special guests and your listener questions.
The icing is waved and it's over! Western Michigan has won it. The Broncos are the Frozen Four champions of 2025.
Taking you through the world of college hockey, here are your hosts, Adam Roden and Mike McMahon.
And welcome. Here we are, everybody. It is back for another week of Gavin McKenna Radio here on the College Hockey News Insiders Podcast. Just when you thought we've exhausted all topics in that regard, we had to see what happened with that incident last week, as we found out after we recorded last week's show, right? So,
which is crazy because that feels like it happened a month ago at this point. But yeah,
I know. I guess we found out just about right after that, didn't we? And of course, the incident happened Saturday night.
Yep.
So, and here we are. As we reported today, he will be playing, so no suspension by the school or the team. In case you don't know what the heck we're talking about, where you been? But go to collegehockeynews.com for all the, it's Gavin McKenna website, too, at this point, with all the articles about the fight he got into Saturday night after the outdoor game against Michigan State and the felony charge that got dropped, still has some charges pending, misdemeanor and a couple of citations. And so you and I probably both have seen players suspended from school or the team for less than that. But on the other hand, there have been instances, I guess, where they haven't been. We don't know all of the details necessarily, although we've certainly got some from police reports and whatnot. But he's going to play, and I guess everyone's going to have an opinion on that.
Yeah, every school handles it differently. Like you said, there have been other cases where players have done a lot less and have been suspended. It's probably risk tolerance of each particular school. I think the felony being dropped probably helped him a lot. Maybe I'm wrong. I can't imagine that they would have had him dress and play if he had a pending felony charge like that.
Oh,
that feels like it's a little more serious to me, but maybe not. Who knows? But yeah, I think it doesn't shock me. Let me put it that way. Every school's different in how they handle these things, but it doesn't surprise me, especially because we're so late into the week now. We're recording this on Tuesday, the following week, almost a week after the story initially broke. I kind of figured if they were going to do anything, even though they weren't playing last weekend, something would have been announced by the end of last week, and we never heard anything. So the longer it went on, the more it felt like he had a chance of just playing. Yeah, because they had a bye week.
Well, the thing is, they usually have weekly media availability, with the local media and the student media there on Mondays, and they pushed it back to Wednesday this week. So as we're recording this on Tuesday evening, none of the particulars of this, from a Penn State hockey standpoint, have made any comments to anybody. I'm sure everyone's been trying, including us, but no one's talking. So we'll see what happens at the Wednesday press conference, and I'm sure that they'll say, well, it's a pending legal matter and can't say anything. That's pretty much the par for the course. But I always think that that's bad. They get advice from lawyers and whatnot, and I know there's certain things that certainly is true they can't say. But to me, if it was me, I'd want to be like, look, yeah, okay, it was stupid, whatever, but he understands, and just say something. Don't just say nothing, like I can't talk about it. And I think that's most likely to happen, but I would at least address it to some extent. I always think that's better than not.
Yeah, I think even something as simple as, we can't talk about the case because it's a pending legal matter, but we've discussed it with Gavin, and we've set our expectations for code of conduct moving forward, and he's going to play, and we've had discussions with him about it. Blah blah blah.
Yeah, exactly.
Something that isn't just no comment. It's a pending legal matter.
Yeah, exactly. And look, like I said, I am not making a judgment. I know probably everybody wants a hot take on the matter. Really not making a judgment either way as to what Penn State should or shouldn't do. I'm not saying they're wrong or right or whatever, but I just do know that there have been plenty of instances and coaches over the years who just would have been like, yeah, I mean, even though, the felony charges dropped, even though you may have had, some people think he had a good reason to lay this other kid out and break his jaw, apparently, according to the police report, that you got to be smarter than that, right? Like, I know there are coaches that would have, suspended the kid or whatever. But, again, but I'm not saying we don't know everything. So I'm not here saying that they are not doing the right thing. I don't know. I'm just going by past instances.
No, I agree. I think, I wonder too, not that this necessarily should have played a role. Like if he were a fourth line right winger, is he suspended?
I know. Well, that's
I kind of feel like maybe there's more of a chance there, as opposed to a 17-year-old or 18-year-old, I guess now, who's in his draft year, who's fighting to be the number one pick, and you want to attract more of those guys if you're Penn State in the future, not less of them.
Yeah.
I don't envy the position that Guy Godowski or anybody in the athletic department at Penn State is in, because it's a difficult decision. I could even envision, and I'm guessing here, I could even envision a situation where they would like to say, hey, you're going to sit a weekend or whatever, but really you're in a spot where it's like that may put the program in a difficult place moving forward as you try to attract more of those types of players. It's not an enviable position.
Yeah. Well, the one thing that I've wondered about, though, is like, does this affect his NIL deal, his immigration status? I guess without it being a felony, I guess not. But that was certainly.
And if he doesn't miss any games, I wouldn't think so either, because I'm sure the rev share and NIL stuff has got to be tied to availability as a student athlete. And if he's not missing any games, I don't know.
But any criminal behavior, I guess. Does raise red flags as far as immigration is concerned. So, but, they're athletes, and he's wouldn't be the far from the first to kind of, get a pass, I guess. And again, I'm not even saying it's right or wrong, but.
I hear you.
One thing I'll say, though, is I've been extremely consistent on this over the years. Not that he's going to win the Hobie, but we've joked about it many times over the years.
I was going to bring this up.
To me, this has absolutely no bearing. However, my experience, and as you know, that if a player, we've seen players who other voters don't vote for because they got a 5-minute major in one game. Okay, so apparently this disqualifies you in the minds of. Now, again, this is a little more. It's like some of the other things have been absolutely ludicrous. And some of them haven't. I mean, one year, was it Danny Cristo got frostbite because he was intoxicated and didn't have shoes on or something. Was on campus, and he was cited for underage drinking or something like that. I can't remember the particulars, but this is like 15 years ago, and so many people didn't vote for him. I voted for him for the Hobie. Whatever, dude. As a college student.
I sat on a call 2 years ago, we've talked about this, where people were trying to make the case that Adam Fantilli should not have won the Hobie Baker because he got a game misconduct in a game.
Yeah. And thankfully, he won it anyway. I mean, I wrote a whole article about how that was a joke.
I will not out the person, but I think I've told the story. There was an NHL scout on that call who, after about 5 minutes of that discussion, said, guys, I know this is my first time here, and maybe I shouldn't speak, but are we serious right now?
Yeah. Well, I mean, there's been multiple players over the years who we at College Hockey News voted for as our player of the year that didn't get the Hobie because of something. Like Matt Fratton was another one.
That's
right. North Dakota. I don't want to make up what it was because I can't even remember now, but it was something equally, silly, really, in the grand scheme of things. TJ Hensick was our player of the year in 2007, I think it was. He also got a 5-minute major in a game, And again, it wasn't a smart. I'm not going to sit here and say it was a smart play that he got a 5-minute major. But for the disqualify him for the Hobie because of that one on ice incident was completely ludicrous.
That's a bizarre mindset to be like.
Yeah.
It's bizarre.
So at least in this case, you can say, okay, well, this is a pretty big, charge that he was dealing with, even though the felony charge got dropped. Okay, I can see it a little more. But, again, to me, I'm not voting on, and again, every time I bring this up, well, there's a character clause in there for a reason. Well, okay, whatever. I mean, there's a character clause in the Hall of Fame, too, and there's a lot of degenerates in there. Of course, I know the steroid. That's another story. But I've been consistent with that in the Baseball Hall of Fame, too. Like, I would not vote for Mark McGwire, not because he took steroids, but because I think without the steroids, he would not have been a Hall of Famer. I would vote for Barry Bonds, even though I think he's a degenerate jerk, because even without the steroids, he was a Hall of Famer. So that is my line. Like, the moral part of it, I just, whatever, not for these things. I'm not asking him to babysit my kids. I'm just picking whether he wins an award. But, in this case, I don't think he's going to win the Hobie anyway. I will say this, though, because this gets me into my next point in all Gavin McKenna radio all the time here at College Hockey News. He has been kicked out of 3 games in the last month. One of them was in the World Juniors for abusive officials, right? Because he kind of went off on another when someone else got called for a penalty. He kind of lost it. And then he had a game misconduct the 2 games prior to the outdoor game. And again, you could defend it all you want. I mean, just because the Friday game against Michigan State, he was sticking up for a teammate, and I didn't even think it was that big a deal. But he got a 5-minute and a game misconduct. So I'm just saying, like, these things are piling up, where it's like, okay, is there a theme here that we should care about, or is it just all just a coincidence? I don't know. Yeah,
it's interesting. I mean, I think I look at it more so from a standpoint of his draft status. Like I was talking to somebody last week, though, and it all depends on the GM, right? I think like the Minnesota Wild are not going to have the number 1 pick, but you mean to tell me that you don't think Bill Guerin's looking at what's happened to Gavin McKenna over the last month and is sitting there going, I like this kid a lot more now. He's the type that I'm sure does. I mean, geez, stuck up for a teammate, got himself kicked out of a game, potentially stuck up for a family member and knocked a guy out and broke his jaw. Like Billy Guerin, I'm sure isn't going like, I like this kid more than I liked him a month ago. It's that type of player. And there's probably a lot of people in the NHL that feel that way. I don't think all of this, whether we're talking about the game misconduct or the incident 10 days ago, I don't think any of it really impacts his draft status at all. I don't. Like, if anything, it might actually help his stock in the eyes of certain GMs who sit there and go, he's got a little bit of toughness to him now that I didn't know he had before.
Let's think of what the knocks on him have been in the first half of the year. That he won't get into the dirty areas. That he's on the perimeter too much 5-on-5. That he's not, forechecking hard enough. Those have been the criticisms of him by scouts and whatnot, or people in the national media. And I mean, I guess maybe this shows that he is willing to do that, and just hasn't been necessarily, but he is capable, right? So, like you said, I mean, I said it the day it came out, like even with the felony charge, to me it wouldn't affect his draft status whatsoever. Like I'm just going to judge his on ice play. So
yeah,
there have been a number of incidents over the years that have happened.
Well, a prime example is like, what is it? Is it the Kevin Bieksa story? Like he knocked a guy out in the bar, under an AHL contract, and then Brian Burke signed him like the next day.
Well, yeah, and Casey Cizikas, I'm pretty sure, killed a guy in juniors. I think it was, I can't remember if it was a vehicular thing or I don't remember what that was. But, he was an Islanders third-round pick and is in the NHL for 15 years. So, I think it depends on what it is, too, right? Because, you remember when, was it Carson Briere? He was the one who got that Mercyhurst accused of throwing a wheelchair down a flight of steps for someone who was disabled. I mean, I think the nature of it, that he was immediately kicked off the team and that kind of thing. And then, you had obviously the Mitch Miller thing, which I don't want to open that can of worms again. But there was a racial incident, right, when he was like 14, and that all of a sudden led to this, that, didn't go to North Dakota, and the Bruins tried to sign him, and that backlash, and they get rid of, so, it's like the nature of it, right? And here, this was like a fight with another student where he was theoretically defending his family, everyone's going to be like, right? I don't know.
Yeah.
The world is weird.
I was thinking about this with the Briere thing the other day because I don't think was there ever charges with that with this person Briere.
I think there were, but
I don't remember.
Not like a felony or anything. It was so I have to go back and double check. I mean, I don't think he went to jail or anything.
No. I don't think so either. In fact, I think he's playing overseas right now. But Mercyhurst acted pretty quickly in that situation. But again, like they're a smaller school. Mm-hmm. He's not Gavin McKenna.
I know. Well,
so
I don't know. Well, all right. Well, that was basically our whole first segment here on Gavin McKenna Radio. And well, now we'll see him play against Michigan this weekend, I guess, because he practiced today. And like you said, and we reported, NHL scouts have been informed he's definitely playing. So onward we go. All right, well, I think quickly we should mention what happened on the ice this past weekend. Most importantly, I guess, the Beanpot. I think we can finally put to bed the idea that BU is ever going to turn their season around at this point. It's too late now, and maybe they can make a run in the Hockey East tournament, but the signs don't point in that regard. So I guess my question is, like, why? Why have they – I mean, I know they're young, but they've been young for years. What is it about this group that hasn't materialized? Are guys like Hudson and Boumedienne, who are talented players, maybe not good enough defensively? Yegorov not as good as last year? I mean, is it all that? Like, what's going on?
I just get the impression that they just don't listen. I mean, honestly, like, I don't know if you saw his press conference from last night, but Jay Pandolfo was he basically I think it's the first time he actually said, like, I can't get through to these guys. And it really looked like they just don't want to listen to what we have to say. Like we've been saying the same thing for months. It's almost like when I yell at my kids or stuff, and I'm like, I yelled at him to clean his room 8 times, and they're like, "Oh, sorry, yeah, I'll do that." And I'm like, "You're not sorry. Like you keep doing the same thing over and over again. At some point, you have to change the behavior. Like it's the same thing. It seems like they just can't get through to this group for whatever reason, and I don't know. You look back to a year ago, like. Was Quinn Hudson, and I don't know, I'm just going, here's a guy that's not there anymore. Like, was Quinn Hudson a big voice in that room that made sure guys listened? Like, I don't know. But
I mean, Gavin McCarthy's there, who seemingly has the respect.
Yeah.
I mean, I don't know.
Like, it just seems like, obviously, a year ago, they had largely the same group, and they were playing in the national championship game. But, was it guys like, was Ryan Green and Quinn Hudson, maybe Shane LaChance, like, was that leadership group just able to make everybody else listen, and now those guys aren't there anymore, and here we are. I don't know, just because a lot of those guys are still here. Cole Hudson's still here, I'm still here, Harvey Hughes, all these guys are still there, and they're just not. I don't know. They're not the same team. That's for sure.
Yeah. Well, congrats to Boston College, first Beanpot win in 10 years. We talked a lot about it last week as far as James Higgins. He winds up winning Beanpot MVP. And he continues to be tremendous for them, and they're in pretty good shape for the NCAAs right now. But limited time, so let's bounce around quick. Because I wouldn't, again, this is not less than the Beanpot. Just happened to bring it up second, but just as big or maybe bigger. Michigan State 1-2 in the MPI, and as a result of an overtime loss and then a win by Michigan State on Saturday, they leapfrog Michigan to the number 1 spot in the MPI, which Michigan has held for basically all the year since we've really been calculating it, and that's huge. Michigan State looked tremendous, and Ivan Kovic made a surprise return on Saturday in net for Michigan, and looked okay. I don't know if he had full range of motion. We'll see. I mean, I don't know if that's the reason why they lost, but tremendous job by Michigan State, and they're going to probably continue to just battle it the rest of the year, I would imagine.
Yeah, and I love Brendan Arado's quote about Ivan Kovic earlier in the week. Somebody had asked him about when he was going to be ready to come back, and he was basically like, I'm not putting a timetable on it. It's not fair to him. He kind of just completely poo-pooed the question, and then he started on Saturday, which is just like that's classic coach stuff to just be like, I don't know, but we're not setting any expectations. We want to be fair to him. It wouldn't be fair. And then 4 days later, he's starting.
Like the day after we ran a story about how Stephen Peck was stepping up for Michigan, the other goaltender.
Yeah, he played well. He was playing well.
But, it was interesting because both the games were tremendous. I mean, they were feisty, but actually, if you look at it, not a lot of penalties compared to the fact that these are two of the most penalized teams in the league. A lot of that is misconducts and stuff like that. So, and I thought, Michigan State, like I said, looked tremendous. And Trey Augustine in net. And there you go. I just had to hand in my first round of Richter voting today, so he was up there towards the top. But I didn't have to rank him yet, so we'll see on that. But obviously that was huge. So that was, again, we're trying to go quickly here through some of the big ones. Another rivalry weekend, Denver, Colorado College. Denver coming out with the the shootout and then the win. So still hanging strong in the MPI, doing okay. Another year of winning that gold pan. I mean, CC is still behind the 8 ball. Not even though they've had some big wins over Denver in the last few years, they haven't been able to win the season series, which is what that gold pan symbolizes for the Denver CC matchup. Elsewhere, I know. I was going to say, mention it as far as coaches who feel like their players have tuned them out. Greg Powers said something very similar for Arizona State. Now, they've had a ton of injuries, but they lose twice at home to St. Cloud this weekend. One of them was on a shorthanded goal in the last minute of Saturday's game that St. Cloud winds up winning 4-3. And, he said kind of lamenting the same thing that Jay Pandolfo said.
Yeah, and the week before was talking about the injuries, too, and how they couldn't have added a player even if they wanted to because they were at the roster cap by when they added Jack Beck, who's one of the guys that got hurt. But, yeah, they just haven't been able to survive the injuries to Beck and Potter, which were, two obviously huge parts of their lineup, especially obviously up front. I mean, big part of their scoring. And they've had a big downturn since those guys have been out. Haven't been able to survive it yet.
St. Cloud was very close to winning our team of the week, but our actual team of the week was Quinnipiac, which outscored their opponents 17-1 this past weekend, and are already have another 20-win season, headed for their 7th straight NCAA tournament bid. So you'll hear from Coach Ram Pecknold in just a bit. Other big series, the entire NCHC was basically, we had the one-offs in the other conferences, Michigan, Michigan State, BUBC, but all 4 series in the NCHC with St. Cloud and Arizona State, Denver CC, I mentioned, Minnesota, Duluth, and North Dakota splitting. That was really big, as much for Minnesota, Duluth as anyone. I think the Friday win was in overtime, right? So they didn't get a lot out of it, but they managed to stem the tide a little bit and hang in there in the MPI. And then the other one was Western Michigan and Miami. And, Miami wins in overtime on Friday, and then Saturday they fell behind 2-0, made it 2-1, and then it looked like they had the tying goal, wound up getting disallowed, and then they lose on the empty netter makes it 3-1. But they hung in there the whole weekend, and every time I think that this cute little run is over now, they keep doing it. A split against Western is nothing to be ashamed of. Are they going to make the NCAA tournament at large? No. They're 21st right now, but my God, 17 wins now, 3 last year? So yeah, it's all gravy.
They could win 20 games, that's for sure.
Yeah, it's all gravy, though, from here for them.
And again, we pointed this out before. If they do, and I think it's they guaranteed to finish above 500 now. I think they are 17-9-2. I don't think.
Overall, yeah.
Yeah, overall. So this will be their first winning season in 11 years.
Wow, they're right about 500 as well for the league, and they're kind of trying to catch Duluth for 4th place, final home ice spot for the playoffs.
Which is nuts because I remember, and I'll raise my hand here. They started off hot at the beginning of the year, and I was one of the people that was like, yeah, but look at who they're playing. Like, wake me up when NCHC play starts, and let's see how good they look. And they've been a 500 team, which is far better than anybody expected. So
yep. Confidence is an amazing thing. All right, so that was our whip around there as we, 15 minutes on Gavin McKenna Radio and 9 minutes on the rest of the country. So we will be right back. We'll talk to Quinnipiac coach Ram Pecknold.
Class, today we're talking men's ice hockey. Open your textbooks. Join thousands of other screaming fans for an in-person experience you have to see to believe. It's the NCAA Men's Frozen 4, April 9th and 11th in Las Vegas. Attendance is encouraged. Passion is mandatory. Buy your seats today at ncaa.com/mfrozen4.
How many teams are in the Men's Frozen 4?
Please leave.
But welcome, Quinnipiac coach Ram Pecknall. How's it like being the elder statesman now, by the way?
I know. Actually, I don't. It's funny you asked me that. I haven't really thought about that the whole year, but I guess I am.
Which is crazy. I mean, I feel old. I started doing this when I was like in college, and all the guys I knew were gone. So I guess that's the way the world goes, right? So
yep.
But you and Teddy, I think, are the last in line for pretty much. There's been so much turnover.
Yeah.
So.
I don't even think about that. We just keep grinding. We just stay focused on the process. And I know that's coach speak, but I do that with my team. I think I do that with my life too.
Yeah. Well, you do have to be adaptable these days, obviously, and you guys, either you do it or you get out. And some guys,
right?
Wanted to get out, and that's their choice, and God bless them. But I mean, you've done a pretty good job, obviously, adapting. I mean, what has it been like? It surprised me just how fast the whole major junior rule happens, but like it just has become almost commonplace really fast to just say, hey, we're recruiting from there now.
Yeah. It's really unusual. Like some of my buddies that are now coaching the NHL, like I'll, like Blash or Apps or any of those guys, like I'll text them like, I'm in Kitchener tonight watching the game, or I'm in Halifax. It's crazy.
Yeah.
It really feels weird, but it is what it is. And you talk about adapting. Like, I think that's one thing that we've done really well at Quinnipiac as a staff is, we have, the very unique ability to kind of plan ahead and adapt to all these things, whether it's COVID, the 5th-year transfer rule, NIL, and now you've got the CHL just changed everything. I mean, it's crazy. And we actually, for months before that rule came in, we talked as a staff and we started watching games. Like we knew it was coming, and we brought in obviously a great freshman class this year. Not just CHL kids. Obviously, we've got Lansing and Wittenbach from the USHL also, which is a great league. So we've we do a good job of that, and I think you have to adapt in today's day and age. And there's a lot of guys out there that just are kind of complaining a little bit, and you're not going to win doing that.
Well, I mean, I think it's one thing too to like say, okay, the 20-year-olds from the major junior are going to come, and you got to check them out. But also then all the, not that there's tons, but a lot more than maybe I thought. The 18-year-olds, that the NHL teams are even saying, hey, go there, go to NCAA for a bit, which is an amazing difference, even from 5 years ago in the mindset of just the entire hockey ecosystem. You know what I mean?
Right. Yeah. It's changed a little bit, and it's going to continue to change. I think you'll see more and more I don't know how long it'll take, but I think you'll see more and more CHL kids realize, hey, I don't have to age out here anymore. I can go a little bit younger. It is hard for 18-year-olds to come and play college hockey. Certainly we have the two we have right now, 2 18s, true freshmen. I've been doing great. Wittenbach's lead the nation in scoring.
Right.
And Matt Lansing's been really good for us, too. He's coming on right now. So, but
those weren't major junior guys, right? So
they were not major. Yeah. No, they're from the USHL. But it is tough. Like a lot of kids think, oh, yeah, I can do it. There's a lot of 18-year-olds that go to college and that really struggle out of the gate because you are playing against 24-year-old men. It's a big difference physically.
Have you, even in just the last year, has the how you're going to approach recruiting it changed a bunch of times since then, or is it how you approach? Because you only have, you have 3 now instead of 2, but even that might not be enough. You got 60 more teams to go see. How do you go about tackling that?
Yeah, that's a good question. We just you try to cover as much as you can. I think you also have to understand like where is your recruiting niche going to be, and that's hard to figure out, I think, right now because everything's changed. What leagues you're going to be good in, where your good connections.
You guys have always been good in the BCHL, for example. Yep. Is it similar in that you're just the WHL is now the natural progression?
Yeah, we killed it in the BCHL for years. I think it was like a 15-year period where we took more players out of that league than anyone. Nobody was even close. I think Omaha was a distant second. So we would even get kids, and then they'd go there. That happened too. Now things have changed, and we don't have those connections in the Western Hockey League. But I do like, a lot of those BC kids, Alberta kids have done really well at Quinnipiac. They fit our culture well. But we'll go wherever we need to go. We have, Vidicek and Varro are here now from Quebec, and they're doing great. And I just had 4 Quebec kids on my team. We won the national championship. So I think you just have to adapt, and things are going to play out. But it's so interesting how it all works. And the agents, or we should call them advisors, they play such a huge role in this. And there's a lot of advisors that didn't have connections to the college guys. And so now you need to develop that rapport with them. And I think develop that trust too. And that's important. And with the NHL teams, because they'll, if they don't think you're good at developing players, they're not going to send you anybody. We just got really fortunate. We had an NHL team basically drop a kid in our lap a couple weeks ago, and they're like, you need to go there. This school's great at development. And it was awesome. I wish that happened more. Because that is what we are good at. We're good at development, but you got to play the field, and you got to figure out where you're going to be good, and you got to work. And I'm really fortunate. My staff, they work hard.
Who's learning French on your staff? All these Quebec guys. You got the new assistant coach. I guess you kind of poached him from your old friend Bill Rigo over there, right?
I did. Caston Summer. He's been great. Obviously, Joe Dumais been here a long time. He's one of the best in the business, and Justin Eddy's our goalie coach. He mostly recruits the goalies, but Caston's been really good, and I give Riggs a lot of credit. Like, he didn't want to lose him, but he's like, he doesn't want to hold him back either. But he's been a really good find for us.
And there's always been a pecking order in college sports with the giant schools, and you guys have done well. Obviously, you're not a huge Big Ten school or anything, but then there then you got the Ivy Leagues and the D2 schools and all that kind of thing. But as that gap has widened, are you finding it harder to keep up with those Big Ten schools? And conversely, I don't expect you to feel bad for the Clarksons and St. Lawrences of the world, but is there any sort of lamenting of how that's gone, even as you do what you got to do? I talked to Nate Lehman last week, and he's like, it's too bad, but this is what you got to do.
No, it is what it is. Like, it's life. Like you got to figure it out. And look, we know what we do well. Like, we've you go back to our national championship. I might be a smidge off on the numbers. I think Minnesota had 18 draft picks, and we had 2 that played in that game. And Michigan was the same number, and we beat them in the semis. So we're not running around getting all these first-round draft picks and second-rounders to come to us. I wish we could get some of those kids, right. But we're getting good players, high-character kids, and we make them better. And that's not going to change. And our development plan and how we do that allows us to win. And so Penn State and the money from McKenna and all these things and whatever, it's fine. Like, it drives everything up. And
that hasn't made it harder for you, you don't think? Or is that just –
we're not –
It's not like you were getting those guys anyway, right?
We weren't.
Yeah.
We weren't. Some of the Ivies can get first-rounders and second-rounders. That happens sometimes. But we know our niche. We know what we're good at. And, sometimes, and I won't name schools, but sometimes you don't want, 15, 18, 20 draft picks on your team. There's not enough pucks to go around. There's only one puck in the game, and it's a struggle to keep your players happy. So, like I said, I'm thrilled with where college hockey is going. I think it's great. I know a lot of people are complaining about it, and there's a lot of complaints about NIL, and I get that, but it's here to stay. So, our game's better than it's ever been. We have access to way more talent than we've had in the past with the CHL and the old kids that would go college either way. So college hockey's better at the top, in the middle, and the bottom. Division III hockey is so much better. It's crazy.
Right.
It's I think it's all good. And
just one more on that.
And obviously I'm saying that too, Adam, because we're having success. Like, we did a good job. Like, we brought in a great freshman class, and we developed some of our older guys better, taking a jump, and, we'll just keep doing what we do.
Well, and again, I don't expect you to feel bad for anybody else. You guys are doing a great job. But, like me, I like everybody. I want everyone to do well,
Right.
Especially the ECAC teams that I grew up with. And it is your league, so, you kind of want the league to be good.
Right.
So, is there concern? Some of those schools just don't have the resources anymore. When you're talking about, especially, I think where it comes into play the most when I've talked to other coaches, is the free transfer stuff. Because you develop a guy for a year or two, and then they're out of there because someone offered them $50,000 or something that you just can't do. that kind of thing.
Yeah.
So, I mean, do you ever give any?
There's a little bit of that, but I think with our league, like our league is really good this year. It's like we're 8 deep. Like we have eight good teams. I really think, and I didn't look at the standings today, but I mean, like Union's really good. They're really good. I think they're in like 6, 7, 8. Like they can beat anyone in the country in a 1-game setup. So we definitely have some teams that are struggling a little bit right now. But hey, if you work hard enough and you hit the portal, get the right type of kids. This is a whole different topic, but I think the portal, and I think the portal has been great for Quinnipiac. The portal has been really bad for certain teams because they take kids that don't fit their culture or don't fit how they play,
right,
or they don't do their homework on them. So the portal's hurt a lot of teams, including a lot of the big boys. A lot of the big boys have taken some kids out of the portal.
For sure.
And it's been a complete bust. I'm
so
sitting
if you
here.
do it the right way, yeah.
Sometimes we're sitting here going, they took him. Like I don't know if I take him here. So
you're saying if you do it the right way, you can still manage it.
I think you can win anywhere. I really do. I think you can win anywhere with the right coach, and you just find a way. And you got to grind, and you got to work, and you got to develop your players. And you got to do a good job. And listen, if they love the school and love what you're putting in front of them, like they're not going to transfer.
Well, and I will get to your current team in a minute, so don't worry. But speaking of the portal, they just changed the rule to 15 days instead of 45 or whatever it was, and until after the Frozen Four, which is good in some ways. But I just wonder whether any of that matters because I don't know if you can say this on the record, but I talk to coaches all the time who are just the biggest issue is advisors are calling teams in January. So does it really matter when the portal opens?
I mean, I guess it does. I'll tell you this: 15 days is way too short. I remember we got Jeremy Wilmer from BU, and he took his time, which he was allowed. That's his option to do with his agent. He has a really good agent, and he did 5 visits. Like it's crazy, and you're allowed to. But how are you going to do 5 visits in 15 days?
Right.
You can't do it. And listen, most of the kids don't do that. It's their right to do it if they want. Right. You want to make sure you pick the right spot, and but I think 15 days is quick. But like again, you just got to adapt. And I do like they moved it a little bit later. I thought that was good. I thought it was really hard. Like you're going into the NCAA tournament and the portal opens and you're trying to
Exactly.
I mean, it was chaos.
But like I said, you still kind of have to take the phone call from the advisor whenever they call, right? So that might be going on at the same time you're in the NCAAs anyway. So I don't know if that really changes.
It's crazy. And then probably the little different topic, but I think the hardest day of the year is like when your season ends, like the next day. So then you got to figure out, hey, because like we're worried about losing guys to the NHL right now. We have multiple guys that are going to get offered. Are they going to come back? Are they going to say no and come back for one more year? Are they going to sign? Are they going to leave? I don't worry that much about any of our high-end guys transferring. We really haven't lost a kid that we weren't okay, that, hey, it was time for them to move on, or they really didn't want to be here. You know what I mean?
Right.
I know other schools are getting, kids stolen from them left and right. I get that.
Yeah.
We haven't had that at Quinnipiac because, we win and I think we treat our players well and we develop them. But I do need to, there is the reality of it is your bottom end guys that aren't playing a lot. I'm like, I remember, I won't name names, but I've met with the kids like, hey, I'd really like you to stay, but you're going to be our 13th forward again. I don't know if you want to do that. And usually they're like, no, I don't. And then you help them and you get them to where they can go.
What about the guy who used to develop over the 4 years and become you know what I mean? That's the
like we've had like the name that jumps up for me is Marcus Chorney.
Yeah.
Who for 2 years just didn't play at all for us basically. And then his junior year, he played every game, I believe. And his senior year, he played every year. And I was hoping to get him back for the 5th year. He didn't. He went into investment banking. But I love that kid. He was an awesome part of our culture. He's an awesome alum for us. But in today's day and age, like you're not going to have that. That Marcus Chorney is going to leave and go,
and that doesn't bug you? Because I don't know. It bugs me.
Yeah, I mean, it is what it is. Like it's, maybe not. Maybe the kid, we've had some kids that have moved on from here and had really good hockey situations. I didn't like when a kid had to sit a year. I thought there were too many. A kid wants to transfer because he played 5 games for you. Like he shouldn't have to sit a year. You know what I mean? Having that rule in place to not have, the sexy schools come in and steal your players. Yes, I like that rule. But, it is what it is.
Yeah, I totally agree. It is a catch-22. It's just, I don't know. I guess I always grew up feeling like you stick things out. I think there's too many pressures for kids to like take the shiny object over there, and not stick it out when there's nothing wrong. When they're,
right.
Obviously, if a coach is destroying a kid or he thinks he's terrible, feel free to go. But I mean, sometimes that's just natural. I don't know. Whatever. We could talk about it all day, but didn't want to get to your team, so I feel like neglecting you on that. But obviously, I mean, you've been scoring a lot of goals lately. Whitenbach, I don't know what else you can say. We just did a story on him, so there's not much more you can tell me on that. But I mean, all of his family played at Cornell, by the way.
Yep.
So, and he's a Long Island guy like me, but. What's just been his progression like? I mean, I don't know if you expected even this much as good as you might have thought he was.
No, I mean, honestly, he was going to go back to Sioux Falls for another year. That was the plan. And like I knew he could play for us, but I was like, we'll just let him get a little bigger, a little stronger, work on rounding out his game a little bit, and have him come in and be a high impact kid. Because I knew we were going to be good this year. And then Calgary had taken him. And then they reached out and said, "Hey, we really don't want him to play juniors." And we had been trying to get a kid that we struck out in. So we actually had a scholarship. This was in the summer. This was, I don't even know, June or July. So we're like, okay, yeah, we can do it.
Right.
And I knew he'd be good for us. But I'm not going to lie. I think he's going to have leading the nation squad. If I knew that, we wanted to take him.
Yeah.
So, but I give him a lot of credit. Like he's really bought in to what he needed to do to get better. And he had to adapt. He had to change the way he played. Like what he was doing in Sioux Falls was not going to work here.
Oh, right. Like what's an example of that, just out of curiosity?
Defending.
Yeah.
Face-off intensity, details.
Right.
He was just so much better. He could get away with stuff. And I'm like, you're not going to get away with that all here. Just as when he gets to the pro, he's not going to get away with things. So, we still got to – and he's got to get stronger. He's got to work on that. And we're going to skate. We're going to a lot of things. But he's just done a great job of kind of buying in. And I think we did a good job of kind of protecting him early. We had such a good team. We could protect him early in the season as he kind of made mistakes and give him good matchups. And now with all the injuries that we have, like we can't hide him anymore, but we did a little bit early in the year and got him nice, favorable matchups, which he dominated.
Right.
And now his defense has really improved. His face-off intensity's improved. Details are better. And now we can put him out there against anyone.
Yeah, because I noticed like his time, we tracking time on ice. It's they're maybe 5th or 6th amongst your forwards, so it's not like he was playing all. But now you're saying he's playing more.
He's playing a lot more. Yeah,
situations. Yeah.
And listen, sometimes that can be deceptive. Like we've the last 3 of our last 4 games we've won 7-0, 8-1, 9-1. I'm worried about him and Marcellus and I'm worried about my top guys getting hurt. So you're holding back on their ice time. So I don't know if that's really the most accurate gauge.
I got you. The guy who does lead amongst forwards is Andon Sabone, who's, again, he's always been solid for you, but it just seems like he keeps progressing, which is nice,
Yeah, he's having a good year. Yeah, and he plays. Look, a little bit of it is, are you on the power play and you're killing? Like he does both. Marcellus does both, If you do both, then your minutes are going to be a little bit higher. Wittenbach's not killing penalties yet. He has let me know he wants to kill next season.
Oh, really?
So
Nice.
I was like, we'll deal with that later, Ethan.
Well, yeah, no, exactly. I mean, those are some of the smaller. I mean, I don't know. Overall, I'm just looking at the numbers here. Do you think you have a smaller roster than usual, or is this kind of normal?
Yeah, I'm not 100% on this. Somebody told me we're the smallest team in the nation, or the second smallest.
Right.
So yeah, but the year we won the national championship, we were the smallest team in the country. So, we don't worry about size. I'd love every kid to be 6'6" and be Chris Pronger, but that's not going to happen. So for us, it's about high hockey IQ. And then high character or elite character. We want those kids that are special off the ice with just how committed they are, what they do in the classroom, and they just do everything the right way without us having to hound them. That's how we win. We have to be detailed and locked in if we're going to beat the teams with those 15, 20 draft picks.
Well, I mean, Chris Pelosi is one of those guys who does have some size. I mean, he's a 3rd-round pick as a result. Yep. But I don't know if you took him because of that. But he's fit in well too. Right out of the chute. So talk a little bit about him, because I think he goes under the radar nationally.
Yeah, he's been unbelievable, and honestly, like I'm not positive this. I don't know if we might have been the only team that offered him. He didn't have a ton. He was a great player young. I have an 05. He's an 05. So I watched Chris play from age 7 on, and I just always loved him. I loved his motor. I loved how he played. He made plays. And then he kind of had this big growth spurt at a certain age, and he kind of dropped back a little bit because he was just kind of gay. He didn't used to his body. And then I just trusted he was going to fill back into his body. And, so we had a little inside knowledge on that, and he's been awesome for us. He will play in the NHL for whether it's the Bruins or whoever, but he's an NHL player. Like, he just does everything well. And he's got the size, he can skate, and has just completely bought into everything we teach and preach here, and has improved dramatically since arriving at Quinnipiac.
Wilmer, is he? What's his deal? Is he?
No, he's done for the season.
Okay, he's done.
Yeah.
Okay, I didn't know.
And it's funny, when he got hurt, like, he was one of the best players in our league. He was dominating, like, just dominating games. Hit the puck all the time. He's a really good hockey player. So that hurt us. We did have a lot of depth this year, so we kind of were able to absorb that. But now we've got other guys out, so we're kind of scrapping right now. But no, listen, when I said
so is everybody.
Yeah, nobody cares.
Yeah, right.
No, we played Brown Friday. I'm like, listen, Brown doesn't care.
Yeah,
we're missing 5 players tonight. They could care less. They're licking their chops.
Right. And just one more roster question: the goaltenders. And I'm just kind of looking at the numbers here, so I apologize. Like, I can't watch every single game. So, but if you look at Silverstein and Marinov, their numbers, save percentage wise, kind of flipped since last year. Yeah. I don't know what to read. I mean, Marinov has still played by far more games. So I don't know what to read into that. Like, how do you look at the 2 goalies right now for you?
Yeah, I mean, listen, we like them both. They went back and forth last year.
Yeah.
This year, the reason Matej's played more is he was playing better the first half of the year, and Dylan had a couple tough starts, and we kind of went with Matej for a little while, and then after Christmas, I just made the decision, let's just split them the first couple weekends, and because I've done it all different ways. I've had split 2 goalies. I've had a 1 and a 1A, and I've had a 1, like Yanni Peretz or Michael Gartig. Right. And they just carry the mail for you. But since Christmas, the platoon's been really good. I think we're 10-1-1. Dylan's been really, really good. Like, he's played great. And we'll just stick with the platoon for a while, but most likely when we get to the playoffs, like, we got to go with 1.
Yeah, sure. All right. Well, what you carving out any time to watch the Olympics or what? Going to be able to do that?
Not yet. I think they started. Right?
Well, the men's haven't started yet, but
yeah. I mean, I'll watch the men's hockey, but I don't know. I don't know if I'm a guy that's going to watch the buyout. What's the gun and the cross country skiing? And I'm like, what is it? I don't even know what it is.
Someone asked me the other day, "What's your favorite Winter Olympic sport?" I said, "Is there another one besides hockey?" I don't even know.
I just watch the ice hockey, and I can't watch anything else. But no, like between, we're playing. You got to cut video from your games, and you got to watch the teams you're playing next. And then I got a 12-year-old who plays. I got a 20-year-old who plays. Like, I'm all over the map. So,
and where are they right now? Just out of curiosity.
So my 20-year-old Tate is playing in New Jersey Titans in the NOL.
Oh, okay.
He's going to go to Trinity next year, which we're excited about.
Yep.
I'm going to go play for a great coach there in Matt Greason. And then my 12-year-old's on the Mid-Fairfield AAA team. Good little player. Got a real edge to him. I say it all the time. He's a young Connor Jones.
Oh, right.
I mean, he is. I remember when Connor Jones played for us. And just buzzes around. Listen, I'm saying an edge to be polite, but it's probably a little more than that.
Yeah, right.
So he's
what's his size? Like is he growing? What's his?
How big is he? He's like a normal sized kid, but he's got that mean streak that you can't teach. So that's nice.
Don't you have another younger one after that?
I have the 2 boys. I have 2 girls in the middle.
Okay. Like that means 12 years ago. Holy crap.
Yeah. So I have a daughter at Tennessee, and then I have my 16-year-old George is going to go to Holy Cross for field.
Oh, nice. I just remember talking about when your last son was. I'm like, I can't believe that was 12 years ago already.
Yeah, 2013.
I got another question to throw at you, like, because I know you've been part of USA Hockey and various stints before, and I'm just talking about the Olympics, but. Any concern about the NTDP going forward with a lot of guys maybe going to major junior instead? Is that what do you sense of that? Is that change?
I think they always lose the odd kid anyways, right? It's not a lot. It's a few, but I mean, in the end, these kids grow up. I watched my 05 go all through it. I'm watching even the 2013s now go through it. I mean, they live and die to play for NTDP.
Really?
Like, that's their whole goal. That's their objective from 8 years on. So I know some of these teams can throw money at them stuff, but I do think, especially with NIL deals now, like you could have huge money thrown at you from a major junior team, but Bauer's going to come in and, hey, listen, I'm going to give you $250 a year to wear Bauer, and be a Bauer guy or whatever. So there's other ways they can make money, but I do think a lot of those kids are very loyal, and they grew up their whole lives like I'm gonna play for NTDP, and I don't think that's gonna change. And listen, and I'm with those parents too. Those parents are crazier than the kids. They're dying.
Well, that I
it.
believe.
Yes. Yeah, I could tell you.
Which is good and bad, right?
They want it more than the kid, maybe. You know.
Yeah, which is not good sometimes.
Yeah,
not good.
Yeah,
sometimes,
yeah, but I do think there is. And rightfully so. There is an allure to wearing that USA jersey and making that program.
Yeah.
And Beezer and the coaches that are there, they've had a bunch of guys go through, but Forsey's there now. Like, they do a great job. It's really well run, and they make players better. You know, they do.
No, absolutely. What was I going to say? Oh, Princeton this weekend. Might as well. They've been a solid team. Obviously, Ben Sire's doing a good job. Home and home. What's the challenge with them as you approach this weekend?
Well, listen, I'm going to correct you. Benny Sire's doing a great job.
Okay,
he's done a great job. He's really.
I mean, he's your old guy, you know, and so you got to stick up for him. So.
He's obviously he spent 12, 13 years at Cornell under Schaaf, and he had 12 with me. So, he's got a lot of experience. But he's been great. They play hard. They got a lot of really good juniors and seniors, a lot of older guys. They're it's an older team, and they come hard and heavy, and it's going to be a lot for us. Like, I'm excited to play them. I love playing Benny. And listen, side note, he's got Connor Jones as an assistant.
Oh, right.
And he's got Dan Henningsen, 2 former Bobcat captains on his staff. So. There's a lot going on this weekend.
A lot of pride, but and you speaking of Schaaf, though, you and him sometimes butt heads, as I know. But do you miss it? Do you miss it now that he's gone?
I do, and I'll say this: for years, Schaaf and I, we did not get along.
Yeah, no, I know.
We had some. They had the infamous one.
I know.
When you called me out in the media.
Was that 2010 or so?
The classless.
Yeah,
I know. Say the next word.
I feel like you guys came to an understanding later on.
We made up. And, and I have a lot of respect for Schaaf, and I was just texting him recently just to see how he was doing, and right when we were going to play Cornell, and honestly, like, Casey's doing a great job there, but I do miss him. Like, I give Schaaf a lot of credit for my career development. Like, he made me a better coach over and over again. Like, he was for years or throughout that, he was always top 3 coach, if not the best coach in our league.
I think his in-game adjustments were always top.
Yeah,
notch,
they were great.
You had to be on your toes.
I love that challenge, and he maybe more than anyone I would attribute, even though he wasn't a mentor for me, but he was in a way. He was almost a mentor. Like, he made me be better. So I am really appreciative of that. I probably haven't ever really thanked him for that, but maybe he'll see this and know, but he did. He was a great coach and did a really good job.
Get hurt in the game? We tough it out. Feel exhausted? We push on. Feeling down? We pull ourselves up by the bootstraps. But there are times when bootstraps aren't enough. When stress gets to us and we need to talk to someone about what we're really going through. So we're going to reach out, because sometimes mental health is not a one-person job. Visit loveyourmindtoday.org. That's loveyourmindtoday.org. Brought to you by the Huntsman Mental Health Institute and the Ad Council.
All right, welcome back to the College Hockey News and Stutters podcast. Ram Pecknold there, the Quinnipiac coach. I mean, think about it. My God, he's the elder statesman of the ECAC now. I mean, not just that, but, I mean, there's just nobody since, there's been so much turnover lately. Him and Ted Donato has been there over 20 years now, but that's pretty much it. And Ram Pecknold is a lot of people don't realize this, the active coach with the most wins in college hockey right now. He's 9th overall. Just continues to pile up impressive seasons. And, I pushed him as much as I could on, all these changes. Is it hurting? Quinnipiac's not a big school. They've been able to compete with the big boys because, they've got a decent amount of resources, and the way they recruit. But is it going to get harder? And he just dismissed all of that, just said, we'll be fine. We'll keep up with the Michigan States. We weren't getting Gavin McKenna anyway, and even 5 years ago. So he seems to think that all will be good. All will be good.
Yeah,
so.
They're one of the most impressive programs in the country, I think, just because they continue to adapt. I give Rand a lot of credit. I remember Tampa. Geez, what was it, 2022 maybe? I don't remember the last time we were in Tampa, but it was a few times ago. They were in the Frozen Four. I think it was when they played North Dakota, and NIL was first starting to become a thing. That was the weekend, the Frozen Four, where everybody was talking about Logan Cooley and his Chipotle deal. And and a lot of coaches were poo-pooing it. Like, yeah. I think even Bob Motzko was like, we got a guy with a burrito deal, but, it's not a lot.
I think that was the year they won the championship in 23 in Tampa. Yeah.
And maybe it was. Yeah, I just remember Rand sitting there going, he was the only one that whole weekend that was like, if people are telling you that the money is not a factor, they're lying to you. Like, he was the only one willing to tell the truth. And, and I get it. Some people just don't want to know, or they don't want anybody else to know what their program was doing, especially that early on in the new reality, I guess you'd call it. But I think it's said to me that they've been very good at identifying where things are going and being ahead of the curve with how they need to adapt to survive. Because you're right. Like, they're not a big school, but they've won 20 games in a row. How many years now?
Yeah.
It's crazy.
7. And that's not including the COVID shortened year, but a couple of those years they've won over 30. So, will this continue for them? That's the question. And I mean, so far this year it is. Now, he said that he thinks the ECAC, and I think the Ivy League teams are doing pretty decent this year, but the non-Ivies are having, I think, more of a struggle, and that might continue going forward. But they're beating up right now on everybody in the league. I think they've outscored their opposition 61-15 in the last 10 ECAC games. 8-1-1, 61-15. But if you're them, you want the league to be strong, because right now they're 9 in the MPI. So, if it was tougher opposition, it would be higher than that. But they're continuing to do the job. They find the players.
That's the thing. Like, they just continue to find guys. Like Marcus Vidicek, for an 2004 freshman, almost a point per game.
Same as
points.
Anthony Vero.
Yeah.
Another one from Quebec, to the Quebec League. He was big this weekend.
They just continue to find these guys.
And Weidenbach, as you heard in that interview, was supposed to spend another year in the USHL, but here he is leading the nation in scoring right now. In case you haven't heard of him, check it out. His name is Ethan Weidenbach, and we had a profile on him last week, and then he went out and got a hat trick on Saturday against Yale. So leading the nation in scoring right now. So there you go.
They remind me a little bit of Denver too in the way they build their teams. Like, they don't have as many of these guys as those Denver national championship teams had, but like he said, they're not going to get Gavin McKenna. They're not getting the number one, even the first round picks. They just clean up with guys like Charlie Letty and Chris Pelosi and Wittenbach and these 4th, 5th, 6th round picks that just go there and flourish. It's kind of nuts.
I mean, Chris Pelosi is another guy that is most likely under the radar to most everybody out there, but he's a 3rd round pick of the Bruins, another Bruins guy. And just look what he's a sophomore. He's got 16 goals in 28 games. He plays 18 minutes a night. And there's just tons of these guys. And he's he's actually one of the few guys with size up front too, 6'2" from Jersey. So so there you go. I mean, that's Quinnipiac. They're going to be formidable again. We'll see. I didn't ask him. I meant to actually. It wasn't like I was ducking it, but they always get grief for not winning the ECAC tournament. They win the regular season all the time, but I mean, I don't know. Personally, I don't think that's that big a deal. Like, I'm not sitting here going, "Oh, you guys are chokers. You can't win," because they've won the friggin' national championship into the Frozen Four 3 times. So, sometimes I think those things are a coincidence.
The ECAC as a league enjoys it.
Yeah, right.
Probably likes it. It got them an extra team last year.
Exactly. And that extra team actually almost made the Frozen Four themselves.
That's right. Yeah.
But and when they won the championship in 23. He credited losing that game for waking them up.
That's right. I forgot about that. Yeah.
So, I don't know. I don't. People will love to Schadenfreude on the teams that are good, but I don't put a whole lot of worry into that. But yeah, they're in good shape once again. That is for sure. And as far as winning another regular season championship, they are in first place, 2 points ahead of Cornell and Dartmouth. As for other games going on, you mentioned not a lot of, we had a lot of big ones last week, not as many this coming week. What does pop out? Obviously, Penn State, Michigan is going to be one where everyone's looking at.
Sure.
And, for all the hoopla. I mean, they are 2 top 5 teams as well. So, I mean, let's not lose sight of that as far as the MPI is concerned.
Yep.
In the NCHC, you've got Miami going to North Dakota. I mean, talk about another test there. Not a lot of big matchups amongst the top teams, but some intriguing ones nonetheless. Wisconsin at Ohio State. I got to mention Wisconsin because they got through that weekend. I mean, they lost 6 in a row going into the weekend. They blew a 3-goal lead on Friday to Notre Dame, who's in last place. What, is Notre Dame on like 1 league game this year?
I think so.
And, I saw Todd Molesky, the Wisconsin beat writer, say, like, boy, that would have been a disaster, a catastrophic disaster if they had lost that game after being up 5-2. I'm like, I think just going to overtime was a catastrophic disaster for them. And then the next night they barely squeaked out a win as well. They're having a ton of goals. I don't know. I don't know what's going on with them. I thought they had it all figured out earlier this year. So
I think I brought it up last week. They've dropped from, well, I don't know where they are now. I know at one point they went from 3 down to 14. Yeah, they were 14 in the MPI. So over the last month or so, a little over a month, they've gone from 3rd in the MPI to 14th.
I know. Well, and speaking of that, CCHA has a bunch of schools. Now, Michigan Tech swept Augustana last past weekend. Now, Bowling Green plays at Augustana. Bowling Green and St. Thomas split. And St. Thomas now has the weekend off. So you've got all these teams kind of bunched in there right on the NCAA bubble. Tech, Minnesota State, Augustana, Bowling Green. And, they just continue to kill each other there. We'll see who comes out of it. But
yeah, I saw Dennis Williams in one of his press conferences last week. I think it was after they beat St. Thomas. Was like, and everybody talks about the best teams in our league, but nobody's talking about us. And it's like, well, you know what? If they've been playing well, and if they do well against Augustana this weekend and jump them, they could jump into 3rd place in the league.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, no one was talking about them because they were like in 5th place, but
yeah,
they will be talking about them for sure. And we're talking about them right now. So. No, Bowling, and they do have 2 games in hand over the top 3 teams in the league as well. So let's keep that in mind.
Yeah, I was just looking back. They've only lost 2 games since December 5th.
Yeah.
So they've been on a nice little run.
By nature, it's going to be a team that's under the radar, but their leading scorer is Quinn Emerson, who, of course, his father, Nelson Emerson, was a Bowling Green standout back in the day.
They got a real chance. I mean, their schedule on the way out here, too, is 2 at Augustana this weekend. Then they're at home for 2 against Minnesota State. And then they're on the road to close out the regular season for 2 games at Michigan Tech. So you play the 3 teams that are in front of you over the next 3 weeks to close out the regular season. Pretty big stretch.
And the goalie they have, Jacob Steinman, a freshman, is a .920 save percentage. He wasn't the starter when the season began, but he is pretty much now. So there you go, Coach. We just talked about your team. We'll talk about them more in the weeks ahead. Because they have, like you said, those 3 big weekends coming up, and that's going to tell us all we need to know about Bowling Green. Let's see, do we miss anything? Yeah, Hockey East-wise, UConn Maine is big. I mean, UConn's another team that's kind of, been slipping under the radar here as they've been around the bubble, and right now they're at 15 in the MPI. They've kind of been up and down, but they've gotten themselves to 15 again, so that's huge. Going to Maine this weekend, and that's probably as big as it gets in Hockey East this weekend.
Yeah, I think so. The other one to keep an eye on is, of course, BC, just because they're trying to hold their position after winning the B-Pot. I don't know, where did they move up to after that win on Monday? I know they were 14.
Yeah, they're 12 right now.
Oh, okay.
So, home and home with Merrimack, you'd think they could take care of business, but then again, the Week 1 Beanpot hangover, they lost 6-1 to Vermont last week, so that came out of nowhere.
Yeah, and I'm curious about that series. Merrimack's 9-2-1 in their last 12. Their only 2 losses were to UMass. So they've played well recently here. But this is going to be the toughest opponent they've played in a while. Probably going back to that UMass weekend. And then BC, like you said, has to survive it, really. They got to figure out a way to get a win. And I don't know the numbers. My recollection, having watched these teams play a lot recently, is that BC has had some struggles at Merrimack, although it doesn't look like all that recently. They've won the last 2 at Lawler, but they did have a stretch there where Merrimack was a little bit of a house of horrors for them, including double overtime game in the Hockey's quarterfinal in 2023. That was a stretch there from 21 to 23 where Merrimack actually won 4 games in a row in the series. I can't imagine that happened very often in that Merrimack BC series overall, but
Yep. Merrimack at 27 in the MPI right now, which is higher than BU, by the way. So there you go. They're playing well. All right, before we get out of here, just a couple of listener questions. By the way, we added women's hockey data scoreboard to our Android app. It has been on the website for many years. It's been in our Apple iOS app for a few years, and now on the Android app. So check it out if you have an Android and have our app especially. So just a heads up on that. Listener questions, just a couple before we get out of here. Clarkson Hockey Blog, dude, says, why is scoring so high this year? Lack of defense or just too many good offensive players? He's referring to recent results like Merrimack Stonehill 9-5. Clarkson Union this past weekend was 8-7. Wisconsin Notre Dame. I mean, we're not back to the 70s yet, but I even think the NHL scoring is up too. So, I do think that forwards have certainly gotten better. I mean, goalies are great, but they've learned to adapt how to score more. I do think a lot of it may also certainly they've got a huge influx of talent in college hockey this year, and also the haphazardness, so a lot of turnover in roster, right? It takes a long time to get your team to be cohesive. So I have a feeling those numbers will go down in the postseason.
Yeah, so do I. It's funny this question was asked. I was actually looking this up last week because I had a similar feeling after watching that Merrimack Stonehill 9-5 game. Offense is up a little bit this year, and this was going into the weekend too, by the way. So, these numbers may have changed a little bit after this past weekend. Scoring's up slightly. Mm-hmm. Teams are averaging 2.95 goals per game this year. It was 2.86 last year. Shooting percentages, national average was 9.67 last year. It's 9.9 this year. So shooting percentages, national average save percentage is down from 903 to 901. So it is slightly up overall.
Yeah, which is in line with what the NHL's been doing. We've seen the save percentage.
Yeah.
It wasn't that long ago where save percentage in the NHL, probably in college hockey too, was around 910.
Yeah, I was going to say 4 or 5 years ago, I think the national average save percentage was 909, and it's been trending down. It was like 909 to 906 to 903, and then this year it's 901. So scoring has been trending slowly up over the last 4 years.
And I guarantee it's not because the goalies are worse. So
no, I don't think so.
But I do think maybe defense is, like I said, with a lot of the turnover, that is part of it. But the good teams will have it together by the postseason. The other question. Do you think people, well, of course, back to Gavin McKenna Radio, but of course someone was going to ask, do you think people will judge McKenna too harshly or not at all for recent events? Seems like he's in a very large spotlight, but just doesn't seem fair that McKenna has all the spotlight when other incidents are swept under. Well, I mean, we don't know the ones that are swept under, so I can't really say about that. Yeah, we talked about that in the first segment as far as how he'll be judged. I mean, first of all, what happens on what people say on social media, you just don't even go by that. I mean, right?
I was just going to say, the people that will judge him the harshest are the ones that don't matter. So
yeah, I mean, look, it's very hard to remember sometimes that social media represents 5% of the population. So and again, I mean, is it harsh? Penn State did not suspend them or anything, so I don't think really anything's being judged harsh. And as we said, I don't think it's going to matter in this draft status. So. But we'll see. If anything changes, we'll be right here on Gavin McKenna Radio to let you know all about it. That is all for this week. I know Mike has to get going, but big week of games ahead, and we're only a few weeks away now, just 3 weeks from some postseason games, believe it or not. Hoy. So, batten down the hatches. We will see you soon.
Thanks for tuning in to this week's edition of the College Hockey News Insiders Podcast. To submit your listener questions, please send them to @CHN News on X. And for the best college hockey content around, including features, the CHN Team of the Week, stats, rankings, and so much more, visit us at collegehockeynews.com. Until next time, we hope you enjoy all of this week's great on-ice action, and we'll be back to break it down on our next edition. For Adam Woden and Mike McMahon, this has been the College Hockey News Insiders Podcast.